Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise, giving you the most important, often surprising insights on big topics. Basically, a shortcut to really getting something significant. And today we are diving deep, really deep, into a show that absolutely took the world by storm. Squid Game.
Yeah, it really did. And it's fascinating because Squid Game wasn't just, another hit show. It became this huge conversation starter about some really serious societal issues. And the backstory is pretty remarkable, too. The creator, Hwang Dong-hak, he actually came up with the idea way back in 2008.
2008. Wow.
Yeah, and it came directly from his own financial struggles at the time and seeing this growing gap between rich and poor in South Korea. But it took over a decade of rejections before Netflix finally said yes in 2019. Makes you think, doesn't it? What changed?
It really does. Timing is everything, I guess. So here's the plan for this deep dive. We'll start by unpacking the absolute phenomenon that was Season 1. Then we'll look at how Season 2 evolved things. We'll also touch on the incredible cast, some important points about representation that came up, and then zoom out to its massive cultural impact before looking ahead to, well, the final season, Season 3. Okay, so let's dive into Season 1. It just sort of dropped us right into this incredibly dark world, didn't it? Hundreds of people, all deeply in debt, risking literally everything.
Everything for that huge cash prize, the $45.6 billion. And the way it started with those twisted children's games.
Oh man, red light, green light. That first episode, it was just shocking. The immediate brutality. Elimination meant death.
Yeah.
Right there. No messing around.
Exactly. And that's where I think the social commentary hit so hard right from the beginning. Hwang Dong-hak wasn't subtle about showing the cruelty of the system, the desperation driving these people, and the visuals. The production design by Chae Kyung-sun was genius, really. Those bright, almost cheerful, childlike sets.
Like the playground equipment, the colorful staircases.
Yeah. Contrasted with the absolute horror unfolding. It was jarring. And those tracksuits, the green and the pink jumpsuits for the guards, they became instantly iconic. Symbols of that whole twisted setup.
Totally. And we got invested in the players, didn't we? You had Gi-hun, our sort of down-on-his-luck main guy. Then the alliance is forming. The quiet strength of Ali, the ruthlessness, really, of Sang-woo Sabyok trying to make it on her own.
And Oh Il-nam, the old man, player 001. Seemingly so frail.
Right. And all this happening while Detective Hwang Jun-ho is sneaking around trying to find his brother inside this whole nightmare. But the biggest shock, I think, for everyone was that final twist. Oh, Il-nam.
The mastermind. One of the rich VIPs watching for kicks. He wasn't just a player. He created the games because he was bored, wanted to feel something extreme.
It was gut-wrenching. And Gi-hun's journey after that. Winning, but being completely broken by it, struggling with the money, the guilt, until he finally decides, no, I have to stop this. I have to take them down.
It was a powerful transformation, and the show just exploded. Critics loved it, mostly. 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, praised for that social commentary, the tension.
Yeah.
It became Netflix's biggest show ever.
Yeah, biggest ever. Though it wasn't without some criticism.
No, that's true. Some people found parts of it maybe a bit slow or maybe too reliant on shock value. And there was discussion, particularly in Korea, about whether it kind of exaggerated Korean society for an international audience, which raises that interesting question. How do you tell a story that's so specific to one place but also resonates everywhere?
It's a tough balance.
Yeah.
So thinking about it now, what does this all mean for you, the listener? Clearly, Season 1 wasn't just entertainment. It tapped into something real, started conversations globally about inequality, desperation.
Okay.
Okay, so fast forward 3 years, that's where it gets really interesting, I think. Squid Game returns. Season 2 dropped December 26, 2024, 7 episodes, and the stakes felt different, more personal, maybe.
Definitely a shift in focus. Gi-hun makes that decision, right? He
Yeah.
turns back from getting on the plane.
Yep. Abandons his plans to leave, decides he has to go back, infiltrate the new games, trying to dismantle the whole thing from the inside. Meanwhile, Jun-ho, the detective, he's still out there, still investigating, but falling into more traps.
And looking at the bigger picture, Season 2's arrival was, again, huge. 68 million households watched it in the first 72 hours. Number 1 in 92 countries. Massive numbers.
Incredible numbers. But the critical buzz felt different this time.
It was, let's say, somewhat mixed, as the reports put it. People definitely watched, and critics pointed to, some clever twists, digging deeper into certain characters, more philosophical stuff. But there was also a feeling from some that maybe it lost some of that lightning in a bottle freshness of season one. Maybe some plot points felt a bit familiar.
Right. Repetitive, some said.
Yeah.
Even if the themes were still strong.
The spectacle was there, but the question lingered. Did it really deepen the conversation or just kind of echo the first season's point?
What stood out for me, though, were the new players. Their reasons for joining felt very contemporary, very now.
Right.
You had a crypto influencer, a former Marine.
Right. Showing desperation takes many forms in our current world.
And crucially, Park Sung-hoon playing Jo-hin-ju, a transgender woman needing money for her surgery, and Lee Jin-rook as a father, desperate for funds for his daughter's cancer treatment. These felt like really specific, powerful, modern anxieties driving people to the games.
It definitely added new dimensions, and the season leaned more into a kind of psychological revenge story for Gi-hun with even more twisted games. Plus that dynamic where Gi-hun tries to warn the new players, but they're skeptical.
Yeah, just like he was at the start. It really hammered home how hard it is to fight the system, or even just believe someone who says you can. Okay, let's talk about the actors who brought all this to life. The cast was just phenomenal across the board. Lee Jong-gi as Gi-hun, his evolution was incredible to watch. From that broken survivor to someone trying to be a revolutionary.
Absolutely. And Lee Byung-hun as the front man.
Yeah.
We got more layers to him in season 2, didn't we? Hints of his backstory, more emotional conflict.
Definitely. And we had Jun as Jun-ho, just relentless.
Yeah.
Still trying to expose everything. Oh, and we can't forget Gong Yu's cameo as the recruiter. Still creepy.
Yeah, it's slap game. Yeah.
And thinking back to season 1, the impact of Park Hae-soo as Sang-woo, Jung Ho-yeon as Se-bayok, Anupam Tripathi as Ali, they really set such a high standard. Their performances were heartbreaking.
They really were. And speaking of impactful performances and characters, in season 2, the casting of Park Sung-hoon as Cho Hyun-ju, the trans character, really generated a lot of discussion.
Right. It was noted as a brave, layered portrayal.
Yes, and it received what reports called both controversy and positive community feedback.
Yeah.
It highlights a really important ongoing conversation, doesn't it? It makes you think about inclusivity, about how identity is portrayed in global media, especially something this huge. How do you represent diverse experiences authentically on such a massive stage?
That's a crucial question. And the show's impact, it just went way beyond Netflix, didn't it? Squid Game wasn't just watched, it was lived.
It became a genuine global phenomenon because those themes, competition, desperation, inequality, they're universal, sadly.
We saw it everywhere. Mr. Beast did that huge YouTube version.
Right, which was kind of meta in itself.
Totally. And then Netflix leaned in with their own reality show, Squid Game, The Challenge. There was even talk of Hollywood remakes. It became this cultural touchstone.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the commentary around it framed the show as the sort of moral mirror for society. Looking at how people behave under extreme pressure, do they cooperate or exploit each other? It reflects that systemic violence Hwang Dong-hyuk talked about, the cruelty inherent in capitalism he wanted to critique. It never really gave easy answers, kept things morally gray.
Which makes it stick with you, I think.
It does. It puts you, the viewer, in a slightly uncomfortable position, almost like the VIP is watching.
Okay, so that brings us to the end game, the final chapter. Season 3. It's official. It's confirmed.
Yep. June 27, 2025. 6 episodes to wrap it all up.
So, expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we expect Dil-hun's final confrontation. Him versus the front man versus the whole organization.
Definitely. Resolution is key. Dealing with those lingering betrayals, like what happened with Jun-ho and his brother, the front man, and maybe finally getting closure on some of those side plots, like the organ harvesting.
Yeah, that felt a bit underdeveloped sometimes.
And that touches on what some critics pointed out as a potential weakness, that critic caution we mentioned. The feeling for some was that maybe the secondary plots and characters in season 2 started to dilute the core focus a bit. So the big question for season 3 is, can it bring everything back together for a satisfying, powerful conclusion? Will it maintain the strength of that original message, or will the expanded scope ultimately weaken its legacy?
It's a lot to wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
We've really covered a lot of ground here looking back at Squid Game's journey. From that shocking start in season 1 through its evolution, its cultural explosion, and now looking towards this final season.
It's quite something. And maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Consider how this fictional contest, born from one person's real-life financial struggles, managed to hold such a stark mirror up to our world. It reflects those intense pressures of economic survival, the impossible moral choices people face when they're pushed to the absolute edge. It really invites you to look beyond the game itself and question the systems, the societal structures that create those kinds of desperate situations in the first place.
A powerful thought to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Squid Game.